Amazing Rescue: How a Poor Girl Saved a Mafia Boss's Daughter and Transformed Their Lives Forever. Mia Rodriguez was running late again, her slate-gray uniform clinging to her as she navigated the bustling streets of Chicago. 3 jobs meant 3 schedules and no time to breathe. As she dashed toward the diner, her thoughts were already racing. How could she possibly juggle a potential scholarship application while keeping her family afloat? Moments like these made her wonder if her dream was just that, a dream. "Keep it together, Mia," she muttered under her breath. Her mother worked endlessly to ensure Mia had a shot at a better life, but the weight of expectations was suffocating. Each night spent waiting tables chipped away at her resolve, but quitting was never an option. The bills kept mounting. Each dollar earned was a brick laid toward her escape. The city buzzed around her, the harshness of reality stark. On one hand, it was a whirlwind of noise, a siren's wail, a car horn's blast, laughter from nearby clubs. The other was a symphony of memories, aching reminders of what she was desperately trying to leave behind. She knew she needed to excel academically to lift her family from poverty, but every hour spent working was another hour away from textbooks and study notes. Suddenly, the stakes escalated to an unbearable level. A heavy feeling settled in her stomach when she overheard 2 men arguing near an alley. Something was off. Mia's instincts kicked in. They were poised like coiled serpents, and she turned her attention away from her dwindling hopes and fears of failure to something far more immediate. What if someone was in danger? Her heart hammered in her chest, each beat echoing her inner conflict. Should she intervene and risk her safety? Before she could consciously decide, her blood surged with adrenaline. As she edged closer, she realized the target of their aggression was none other than Emma Lazaro, the mafia boss's daughter, her flawless life a mere illusion. The girl who lived in a fortress of luxury was now cornered, panic etched across her pristine face. Mia bit her lip, confusion battling urgency. If she saved Emma, could she inadvertently put her own family in danger? Before we continue, a voice seemed to echo from nowhere, interrupting Mia's thoughts as if a call to action. "I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Mia's resolve crystallized. She stepped forward, lungs burning, shaking off the doubt.
The echoing of her mother's sacrifices spurred her bravado. "Get away from her!" she yelled, her voice cutting through the tension. The street became a still, frozen tableau against the chaos raging in her mind. Would saving Emma bring ruin, or was this the moment where she seized control of her destiny? As she confronted the men, every nerve in her body screamed at her to turn back. Could one decision reshape her world? Friends or loyalty? Life or death? Each moment pulled her deeper into a web she barely understood, but was already tangled in. The fate of not just Emma, nor herself, but her whole family loomed, and the shadows of the Mafia darkened their lives. The thrill of exhilaration melded with a haunting dread as she stood on the precipice of an uncertain future. Mia stood frozen, heart racing, as the men turned to confront her. She could feel the weight of their hostile gazes piercing through her, their intentions unclear but undoubtedly dangerous. A part of her screamed to run, to leave the chaos behind, but the other part, the stronger part, rooted her feet to the concrete. "Who the hell do you think you are?" one of the men spat, stepping closer. His voice was rough, laced with a mix of surprise and irritation that a girl like her dared to interrupt his cruelty. "I'm the one who's not afraid to stand up," Mia shot back, surprising even herself with the strength of her own words. The adrenaline coursing through her veins sharpened her focus. There was no going back, not now. Emma's fear was palpable, and it ignited a hunger inside Mia. This was no longer just about her or Emma, but about defiance against a world that sought to crush those who appeared weak. A surge of confidence rushed through her. In that moment, a deep realization dawned. She wasn't just protecting Emma, she was reclaiming her narrative, one that had long been written by others. The men exchanged glances, sizing up the unexpected threat. Boldness danced on the edge of Mia's tongue as the taller man chuckled derisively. "You think you can save her? You're just a waitress in a slum." Her mind spun at the alarming truth in his words.
She was indeed just an ordinary girl, fraught with the daily struggles of survival and dreams shadowed by despair. But she was also the sum of her experiences, the sacrifices of her mother, the crushing weight of her family's reality. It filled her with an unexpected resolve. "Maybe you underestimate me," she responded, grit creeping into her voice. For a moment, the air hung thick with tension. Her heart thudded louder in her chest, reminding her of the stakes involved. If the confrontation escalated, she risked not only her safety, but potentially unwinding her family's struggles altogether. They were already caught in the crosshairs of danger just by virtue of being close to her. But the spark of bravery ignited something significant within her.
She remembered why she was fighting, not just for Emma, but for freedom from the burdens that chained her family's future. In a flash, she turned to Emma. "Run! Go get help!" Her voice broke through the fog of fear, and she saw the flicker of uncertainty in Emma's eyes. "I'll hold them off. Just go!" Emma hesitated, fear constricting her throat. The transformation was evident. A moment ago, she was the untouchable daughter of a mafia lord, but now, in the face of danger, she mirrored Mia's own uncertainty. It struck Mia with remarkable clarity. Emma was just as trapped in this world, her life a gilded cage. "I can't leave you," Emma cried, but her resolve faltered under the weight of Mia's determined gaze. "Yes, you can," Mia urged. "Your life depends on it." And with that, something shifted in Emma. The walls that had insulated her from the world collapsed in the face of urgency. In a heartbeat, she bolted into the shadows of the alleyway, finding a path that might lead to safety. With Emma in motion, Mia turned her full focus back on the men, who had visibly relaxed, their confidence swelling now that they were facing just one girl. "You want to fight me? You're welcome to try," Mia said, her voice steady despite the tremor of fear within. The taller man narrowed his eyes, taking a step closer. "You think you can handle what comes next?" Mia steeled herself, determination blossoming like wildfire in her chest. "I don't think, I know." Their idle threats danced in the air, surrounded by the bustle of Chicago that felt worlds away from this moment. The growling tension hinted at what lay ahead. Mia was locked in a battle for control, for identity, and for the future she was desperate to carve out. The moment stretched into eternity as the first swing was thrown. Mia dodged instinctively, her mind racing to process this chaotic turn. She had decided to confront her fate, but could she truly fight for her life and for her dreams against such odds? As she engaged, her body instinctively moved, blending her fight-or-flight response with a newfound sense of strategy. In that split second, she wasn't just Mia Rodriguez, she was a fighter, a survivor. But even as she adapted, she couldn't shake the thought that every strike she exchanged with her opponents could have repercussions far beyond the moment. With her heart pounding and determination hardening, she wondered, what if surviving this night meant stepping into a world far darker than the one she fought against? The threat of something more menacing loomed, a deeper connection to the Lazaro legacy awaited. What would be the cost of defending Emma, and would she emerge from this tangled web stronger, or would it ensnare her for good? Mia barely had time to react as the first punch whistled past her face, an instinctive dodge that felt electric in its simplicity. The alley, illuminated by flickering neon signs, suddenly became a battlefield.
Her surroundings warped into a blur of colors and shouts, yet clarity pulsed within her. This confrontation wasn't merely an act of survival, it was a desperate bid for power in a life where she had often felt powerless. The men, emboldened by their numbers, advanced like a pack of wolves. Each movement she made was a calculated step into her own potential, a learning curve unfolding in real time. With every dodge and counter, Mia began to understand that she wasn't just defending Emma, she was reclaiming her identity from the shadows of doubt that had dogged her for so long. The time spent getting pushed around in her family's diner seemed trivial now. She was no longer a girl serving tables, she was a force emerging from the confines of her reality. As she sidestepped another blow, she noticed the taller man's overconfidence. He was too predictable. The realization blossomed within her. Predictability was a weakness. She had spent her entire life observing, gauging, and remembering details that others overlooked. It's what helped her serve cocktails to the right customers and avoid trouble spots at the diner. Now she would harness that knowledge in combat, where finesse could trump brute force. With renewed conviction, she took the offensive. A feint followed by a swift jab caught the taller man off guard, sending him stumbling back. Surprise etched on his face as Mia pressed forward, adrenaline fueling her courage. The others circled, but she could feel the shift. She challenged their expectations.
Her heart raced, not with fear, but with exhilaration that shook loose doubts she had clung to for years. Fight, flight, or freeze. The choice now rested firmly with her. She was choosing to fight, and every move she made illustrated a personal evolution, each punch and kick marking the emergence of resilience, strength, and the realization that she had far more power than she'd realized. But with every compelling moment of triumph, the gravity of her surroundings crashed back in. Each menacing holler and each silence before an attack pulled her back to the risks involved. Would pulling Emma from her gilded cage mean stepping deeper into the Lazaro underworld? Would this brave display make her an adversary to that legacy? Clarity dawned amidst the turmoil as Mia landed another blow that took the taller man by surprise. Instead of celebrating her small victories, she noticed how the other thugs flinched at her rising confidence. They were beginning to question their own number advantage. The instinct to overpower her transformed into doubt and hesitation. With that insight, she made a split-second decision. Instead of pursuing her advantage relentlessly, she changed her strategy. Interjecting a moment of vulnerability, she stepped back, breathing heavily, a facade of uncertainty wrapping her, a bait laced with deeper purpose. "Is this the best you've got?" she taunted, her voice steady, but revealing a hint of fatigue.
It was a gamble, but it worked. Their bravado slipped, replaced by confusion. By all appearances, the fight was starting to weigh on her. Mia's heart thrummed, not from weariness, but from the delicious thrill of turning the tide. She was not only navigating a physical battle, but engaging in a psychological chess game against men who viewed her as just a girl. In doing so, she shattered those confines. In those strides, she unearthed a hidden resolve she never knew thrived within. The alley widened, but darkness whispered promises. As fears mingled with instincts, a deeper truth stirred. What awaited outside this escalating chaos might be fraught with consequences far beyond adrenaline-infused heroics. Would her choice to stand tall invite consequences she could neither foresee nor prevent? As Mia readied herself for the next strike, exhilaration gave way to trepidation. The men circled like predators, but she would soon learn that there were worse wolves lurking in the shadows, those who would hold her and Emma accountable for this night's choices. The air thickened with impending danger as a figure emerged in the distance, casting an unfamiliar shadow across the alleyway. Her pulse quickened at the implications. Who else was watching? And what deeper entanglements awaited her in the aftermath of this fight? The figure drew closer, revealing a sharply tailored silhouette that felt entirely out of place in the gritty alley. Whatever semblance of control Mia had conjured battled against an overwhelming instinct to retreat. But retreat wasn't an option. She had picked her ground, and she wasn't going to back down now. With adrenaline still coursing through her veins, she maintained her stance, prepared to confront whatever threat loomed. "Hey, get back!" one of the thugs barked, his bravado fading as he turned his attention to the newcomer. That moment of hesitation proved critical. Mia seized the opportunity, springing forward with precision. A swift kick aimed at the unguarded thug brought him down with a grunt. But the sight of the figure watching her with keen, calculating eyes pulled her focus. It was a man, distinguished yet menacing, his dark coat fluttering slightly in the alley wind. There was something almost predatory about him, a sharpness that cut through the chaos of the encounter. "I'll take it from here," he said, his voice smooth like silk, betraying none of the intensity Mia felt. "Who are you?" she challenged, defensive. "Just someone interested in the talent," he replied, glancing at the fallen thug. "You've made quite the impression, haven't you?" Mia felt a surge of uncertainty and defiance. "I'm not just a talent, I'm here for someone," she shot back, eyes narrowing as she scanned the remaining thugs who were now shifting their attention towards this unexpected figure. "Indeed," he said, a sly smile emerging, "but this fight isn't about just loyalty or loyalty. It's about choice, isn't it?"
The question lingered, and in that fleeting moment of vulnerability, he felt his gaze peel back layers of her own decision-making. What was she willing to risk for Emma? Did her desire to save her friend extend beyond the alley tonight? The notion struck a dissonant chord within her, revealing a vulnerability she had not been prepared to confront. She wasn't merely fighting for herself, nor was it a standalone mission. It was entwined with Emma's fate and her own. Mia squared her shoulders as determination surged again. "Let's wrap this up," she insisted, keeping her focus on the remaining men whose confidence was now unraveled. They were scrappy but uncertain, pawns caught in a game that had shifted dramatically. As she struck out again, evading another set of swings, Mia could sense the figures retreating, confusion mounting amongst them. She fought not just with her fists, but with tactical precision built on years' looming schisms and shadows. The mental game of dominance had shifted. She was no longer the pawn. They were. "Impressive," the man remarked, the condescending tone irking her. "But let's see if you can keep that up." He stepped forward almost too calmly, issuing a challenge with barely concealed excitement. "No one asked you to play referee," Mia snapped, pivoting back to face him. She was frustrated. She could feel the draw of his presence, yet his unyielding confidence pressed on her like a weight. What kind of game was this? He chuckled softly, carefully sizing her up. "I don't need to. Not yet. Your choices tonight might lead you further into this world than you expect. Just be mindful of your next steps." With that statement, he turned, scanning the alley as the remaining thugs edged away, retreat vibrant in their hurried steps, but a fleeting sense of victory swept through her. Here was the stranger almost daring her to embrace the chaos of her choices, perhaps even inviting her into deeper waters. Yet, as the shadows began to shift again, this time more menacingly, Mia felt a pang of resolve mixed with unease. She had exposed layers of herself tonight, and now the implications felt heavier than the fight. She had glimpsed a potential future, one that beckoned her truthfully, but also warned of darker depths. The man turned back, that sharp gaze holding a promise and danger. "You found your power tonight, Mia, but remember, power demands price. Are you ready to pay it?" Mia swallowed hard, the stakes rising beyond what she had anticipated. "I'll take that risk," she declared, steady as she had ever been, drawing a battle line that was now not just about her or Emma, but of a burgeoning fate entwined with forces she didn't yet understand. As she stepped forward, a chill coursed through the air, thickening with implications and uncertain alliances. What lay ahead promised to be a complex labyrinth, one that could bind both her and Emma deeper into a world darkness threatened to engulf.
Just as she processed the unfolding challenges, a distant siren wailed, echoing ominously down the alley. The night was far from over, and Mia could feel tensions rising, preparing her for the inevitable confrontation that awaited at the crossroads of her destiny. Mia stood in the aftermath of her skirmish, breathing rapidly as the echoes of her fight reverberated off the brick walls. The alley was now quiet, the faint sirens still screeching in the distance, pulling her back to the present. Each inhale felt weighted with the intensity of her confrontation, and she sensed a shift within herself. This was more than just a physical battle. It had begun unearthing parts of her previously buried under layers of survival instincts. As adrenaline faded, a gnawing sensation settled in her stomach. Though she had outmaneuvered the thugs, the mysterious man's words echoed hauntingly. Power demands a price. What cost would she pay for this newfound control and confidence? Her mind flickered to Emma, trapped in a situation far worse than this alley. Could she truly walk the path the man had hinted at? Power, she murmured to herself, testing the word on her tongue. It was an intoxicating blend of thrill and dread. The danger she had confronted sparked an awakening in her. She yearned to explore this newfound strength, yet a voice of caution lingered. Was this the person she wanted to become? Collecting her thoughts, she shook off the lingering uncertainty. Emma was the priority, not her internal conflict. With renewed focus, Mia took a step back to assess the alley. The criminal underbelly had shown its face again, and she was just beginning to learn the stakes involved. Something shifted on the periphery of her mind. The man in the dark coat had seen her potential. Rather than a mere bystander, he had unearthed her latent abilities. His confidence was both alluring and infuriating. If she could harness this merging of instincts and fight, she could change the game, not just for herself, but for Emma. But would that mean entangling herself with the man again? Determined, Mia squared her shoulders and turned to step out of the alley, her mind racing with possibilities. She could sense the air thickening, the stakes heightening, and it only strengthened her resolve. She needed to learn more about herself and the dangerous world around her. A clang echoed behind her, causing her to spin around. The man stood at the entrance now, watching her with a bemused expression. "You really are something else," he said, an appreciative lilt in his voice. "Most would run away after making such an impression. Most don't have someone waiting for them," she shot back, feeling the heat of her emotions flaring to life. "Ah, loyalty can be a double-edged sword," he mused, stepping closer. "But it seems you understand sacrifice. That will serve you well." He paused, leaning closer, and for a moment she just wanted to trust him. "I can mentor you. Show you how to navigate this chaos. But I will need to know you are invested, to commit to this power, and accept the risks that come with it. Mia hesitated. Mentorship? The concept was both appealing and intimidating. She'd spent years training her body, fighting tooth and nail to stay a step ahead. But training was tangible. This was a leap into a shadowy realm where loyalty and power intertwined unforgivingly. "And if I say no?" she asked, her tone steady, masking her internal turmoil. "Then you'll return to your old life, where shadows govern choices and loyalty means little without strength. But you've already tasted the power, and it will always haunt you." With his words, a sinking realization enveloped her. The chance to learn, to seize control over her destiny and Emma's, was within reach, but the risk loomed larger with every thought. "I need time." She turned away, forcing herself to focus on what mattered: the escape, the rescue. She could feel the man's gaze trailing her, a mixture of challenge and expectation. "I won't wait long, Mia. The choice is yours, but the clock is ticking." The resolve in his words settled in her. It was a countdown to not just making choices, but redefining who she would become. As she stepped out into the street, the night still young and chaotic, a spark of defiance ignited within her. The path was fraught with uncertainty. Every moment felt like standing at the edge of a precipice. But what if this was her chance? Just then, an unexpected figure caught Mia's eye across the street, the familiar silhouette of one of Emma's acquaintances. Her heart raced anew. Would they have information? Maybe they could guide her closer to Emma's whereabouts, or unveil the next puzzle piece in this treacherous game. Determination flooded her veins once again, drowning out the shadows of doubt as she made her way toward the lingering figure. Whatever choice awaited her around the next corner, one thing was clear: the fight for Emma had only just begun, and she wouldn't just stand back this time. But as she approached, a new voice echoed in her mind, the question the man had posed earlier. What was she really willing to risk, and at what cost would her power come? As Mia drew closer to the silhouette, the familiar outline sharpened into focus. It was Liam, one of Emma's old friends, looking tense as he leaned against the streetlight, scanning the area as if he were waiting for an ambush. His expression shifted when he recognized her, relief flooding into his features at the sight of her, yet a note of concern clouded his eyes. He understood the undercurrents of their world far too well. "Mia," he called, pushing off from the light. "You shouldn't be out here alone. It's not safe." "Neither is Emma, and I'm not leaving her behind," she replied, steeling herself against his worry. She had grown accustomed to ignoring the risking danger swirling around her, instead honing her focus on the task ahead.
"Do you know anything about her?" Liam hesitated, chewing the inside of his cheek, the streetlight casting shadows across his face. "I've heard some things, dangerous things." His voice dropped lower, as if the darkened night could hear their conversation. "She's mixed up with some rough people, more than we thought." Mia's chest tightened. Every word felt like another weight added to the burden she was already carrying. "We have to find her, Liam, whatever it takes." "Listen," he said, eyes penned on her with a mix of respect and fear. "I can guide you, but you have to promise me that you'll be careful. This isn't just a rescue mission. It's a war zone out here. You might have handled those thugs in the alley, but there's more to this than just raw strength." Mia felt a flash of frustration. Raw strength had served her in that alley. It was a part of her newfound arsenal. "I can't just walk away," she snapped, pushing back against the fear gripping him. "I won't let her down." Liam held her gaze, weighing her determination before continuing. "What are you willing to sacrifice to get her back? That's the real question." His words hung in the air, a solemn reminder of the precarious balance they were standing on. The man's earlier challenge echoed in her mind. Power demands a price. Suddenly, the weight of those words bore down on her. She wasn't just fighting for Emma. She was battling for her own sense of identity in a world where shadows manipulated reality. "I'll do what I have to," she finally said, the conviction in her voice unwavering. "Tell me what I need to know." Liam nodded, visibly relieved that she was making a choice. "There's a meeting tonight at the warehouse on 3rd. They'll be trading something valuable. Rumor has it Emma's caught in the middle, trying to broker peace." "Peace?" Mia spat incredulously. "Or a trap?" "Both," he replied grimly, "but it's our best shot at finding her." As they made their way to the warehouse, adrenaline surged through Mia's veins. The streetlights blurred by, illuminating the paths littered with debris and hidden dangers. The weight of responsibility felt tangible on her shoulders, and with each step, she understood the gravity of her choices. "How do we she started, adrenaline rushing. How do we get in? Liam shook his head, leading her into the alley beside the warehouse, his voice barely above a whisper. We wait for the right moment. There'll be guards, but if they're busy with whatever's happening inside, we might slip through. But you need to prepare yourself. This isn't a game anymore. They'll fight back. The words sent tremors through her heart. She was stepping into an abyss, into a chaos she had barely begun to understand. Yet with every beat, a burning resolve flickered alive within her. This was more than a rescue. This was the moment she could reshape her destiny. And then it struck her, the ambiguous promise from the man in the dark coat.
Would he be able to help her seize this power? The thought hung menacingly at the periphery of her mind. What if they don't want peace? What if the meeting goes wrong? She asked, the doubt surfacing again. Liam's eyes were sharp, focused. Then we adapt. We fight. As the tension thickened in the air, Mia suddenly felt a surge of clarity, like a light slicing through the heavy fog enveloping her thoughts. She realized this was a critical moment, not just for Emma, but for her transformation, her choice to embrace the unyielding path of power. I won't back down, she said, her voice tinged with defiance. Not now, not ever. With a determined set of her jaw, Mia prepared to step into the unknown, where her decisions could lead her down a bold path, one where strength intertwined with consequence. The stakes heightened, and she understood one vital truth. This was only the beginning. But just as they were about to emerge from their hiding place, a low rumble of footsteps echoed into the alley, capturing their attention. Shadows danced along the warehouse walls, signifying their approaching adversaries. Now or never, she whispered to Liam, adrenaline surging once again as fear transformed into resolve. In that decisive moment, Mia had to confront the ultimate question. Could she harness the power she was beginning to understand? Would she wield it to save Emma, or would it consume her entirely? Time to find out. Mia held her breath as the footsteps grew louder, every sound ricocheting off the damp walls, like the echoes of her own anxiety. She could feel the pulse of her heartbeat in her throat, a reminder of the stakes and the depth of her commitment. There was something electric in the air, a tangible sense of the unknown that both terrified and invigorated her. Remember, Liam whispered, the urgency in his voice cutting through her racing thoughts. Stay quiet. We need to get the layout of the situation in, then move. She nodded, every inch of her body tensed and ready for action, but something deep within her stirred, an uncomfortable mix of determination and fear. The pressure of their mission weighed heavily on her, but within her was a flicker of excitement that had been absent during her life before this chaos. This was her opportunity to reclaim agency over her life, to become something more than the girl who always stood on the sidelines. As they edged closer to the mouth of the alley, the shadows of two men fell on the ground before them, their voices mingling with the sounds of distant traffic. Mia strained to listen, pushing aside her doubts to focus on the moment. This was not about Emma only, it was about her too. The question from Liam lingered in the air. What was she willing to sacrifice? Think about what you want, she muttered to herself, her internal dialogue shifting from apprehension to resolution. She wanted control. She wanted to be able to determine her fate, and not just the fate of those around her.
Liam motioned for her to stay low as they shifted closer to the warehouse wall. The guards were preoccupied, engrossed in their conversation about the impending meeting. Mia caught snippets of their talk, something about a trade that would elevate their standing in the underground network. It made her stomach twist. Emma was at the center of this dangerous game. When the guards stepped aside, revealing an opening, Mia's instincts flared. Now, she hissed, and without hesitation, she lunged forward, adrenaline propelling her through the darkness. Liam was right behind her, a silent shadow in the chaos they had just unleashed. Inside the warehouse, the atmosphere was electric, a stark contrast to the outside world. The air was thick with anticipation and tension. Mia's eyes darted around, absorbing every detail, the heavy crates, the flickering lights. She felt an unexpected surge of clarity, understanding that even in this space fraught with danger, she held power. She could orchestrate her next steps. Over there, Liam pointed towards a group of men standing under a single dim light. That's them. Mia squinted, heart racing as she recognized the ripple of excitement in Liam's voice. He was as engrossed in this moment as she was, and for the first time, she saw the potential of teamwork, of two people united towards a goal. It invigorated her. She no longer felt alone in this fight. Yet, her moment of clarity was shattered as another guard stepped into view from the far side of the room, scanning the area. "We have to be quick," Liam hissed, glancing nervously. Mia felt the walls closing in, her breath catching in her throat. The fear had returned, clawing at her insides and battling with the resolve that had surged earlier.
This wasn't a game. This was reality, and the consequences were real. Could she handle the weight of this moment? Her mind raced, the thoughts colliding with each other like a chaotic storm. She had fought to save Emma, but what if the fight drew her deeper into a world she wasn't ready to navigate? Just then, a piece of information clicked into her mind. The man in the dark coat had hinted at revealing her true strength, but was it worth the risk? "Let's move," she urged, her voice steady now. The choice was clear. She would either succumb to fear or embrace the unknown. Every fiber of her being urged her towards the latter. As they maneuvered through the warehouse, she felt a new sense of purpose, a depth of strength she hadn't previously recognized within herself. Mia realized she wasn't just saving Emma. This was her moment of transformation. But just as they neared the group, a piercing scream echoed through the warehouse, freezing Mia in place. Emma was here, and the game had just escalated dangerously. "Mia!" Emma's frantic voice rang out, laced with desperation. With an urgent thrust of determination renewed, Mia's heart raced. The time had come to confront the very shadows she had feared.
Would she rise to the occasion and claim her newfound power? Or would darkness consume her as it had so many others? One thing was for sure. There was no turning back now. The stakes had just been raised. Mia's heart thundered in her chest, the scream echoing through her bones. It was Emma, the very reason she had put herself in this perilous situation, the girl who had unwittingly become her beacon of purpose. Fear tightened its grip around her, but it was no longer the same suffocating dread that had almost incapacitated her moments ago. This was a fire, raw, urgent, demanding action. Liam's hand closed around her wrist, grounding her. "Focus, Mia. We have to reach her before they do something reckless." His voice was steady, but Mia could see fear flashing in his eyes. This was no longer just an adrenaline-fueled mission. It carried the weight of their lives and futures. Each step towards the source of the voice felt deliberate, almost monumental. Every instinct told her to run toward Emma, to eliminate any barrier between them, but Mia found herself navigating the currents of doubt that whispered through her mind. What if she wasn't enough? What if this went horribly wrong? The shock was immediate. Shouting and confusion erupted as every head turned away from Emma. In this split second, Mia felt a surge of clarity. This was her moment. "Go!" she shouted, and together they bolted towards Emma. As they sprinted forward, Mia's heart pounded not with fear, but with empowerment. The decision to push through the dark had ignited a light within her, illuminating the path ahead. They reached Emma just as chaos enveloped the room, guards scrambling to assess the disturbance. With trembling hands, Mia worked on the ropes, her fingers fumbling, but her mind laser-focused. Each twist of the rope brought forth a deepening conviction. This was what she was meant to do. She was going to reclaim her sister, to still the storm that had threatened to drown her voice. "Thank you," Emma whispered, fear still woven into her features, but Mia could see a glimmer of trust returning. "Let's move," Liam urged, glancing over his shoulder. Before they could retreat, a powerful figure emerged from the shadows, dark and imposing. The leader of the men at the warehouse, a sinister presence, regarded them with narrowed eyes that seemed to pierce through the adrenaline-fueled haze. "You think you can just leave?" Mia's stomach dropped. This was it. This was the confrontation she had trained for, the point of no return. Liam stepped forward defensively. "You don't know who you're dealing with," he murmured, but Mia could see the uncertainty flicker in his eyes. An unsettling smile spread across the figure's face as he took a step forward, confidence radiating off him. "Oh, but I think I do," he drawled, "and you've just signed your own death warrant." In that moment, Mia realized that standing against him would require more than just courage. It would demand everything she had fought to reclaim. Would she confront the darkness, claim the strength she now felt pulsing through her veins, or would fear reinstate its chokehold? The time for action had arrived. Mia's path was never meant to be easy, but it was her own. The stakes had intensified, and the next decision could change everything.
Mia's adrenaline surged as the figure before them unfurled an aura of menace. It wasn't just the threat of violence that shook her, it was the weight of implications behind his words. This man wasn't just any thug, he represented a powerful network of darkness, and every instinct screamed at her to retreat. But retreat wasn't an option now. "Emma, stay behind me," she instructed, her voice resonating with newfound authority. This was no longer about saving her sister. It was about facing her own demons, finally taking a stand against everything that had oppressed her for too long. Liam positioned himself beside Mia, ready to defend. They had turned despair into action, but now their resolve was about to be tested. "What's your plan?" he whispered urgently, though his eyes held a glimmer of fear.
Mia glanced at the towering figure, then back at Emma, whose trust ignited an unexpected determination within her. The juxtaposition of fear and courage battled in her heart. "We fight," she muttered, more to herself than to Liam. A storm of thoughts raced through her mind. This was her moment to reclaim agency, not just for herself, but for Emma too. Swallowing her anxieties, Mia began to assess the environment. The crates they had utilized for cover were still toppled, creating a makeshift barrier. She could create another distraction, but it would take precision and decisiveness. A flicker of inspiration struck her. "We need to disarm him," she said, her voice steadier now. "If we can get his gun, we can turn the tide." Liam nodded, his eyes brightening with purpose. "You create a diversion, I'll go for the weapon." Mia could feel the tightening in her chest loosening. This was teamwork, and it felt liberating. "On three, then," she whispered, feeling the energy of their unspoken bond surge. 1, 2. As the word 3 left her lips, she feigned a surge to the right, drawing the men's attention. Liam moved with agility, darting left, his focus laser-sharp on the figure's hip where the gun rested. The moment hung, a tense breath in time. The thug reacted, eyes shifting towards Mia as she created a calculated noise, knocking over a nearby heavy crate. The sound echoed like thunder, causing panic among the guards who scrambled to figure out the source. In the chaos, Liam pivoted quickly, lunging at the figure with a swift, calculated move. Mia's hunt raced, torn between holding her ground and aiding Liam. "Come on," she urged herself, pushing through the noise and chaos. She could hear Emma's shallow breathing behind her, and it anchored her. She steadied her focus, willing the fear to evaporate. Suddenly, the blast of a gunshot sent a jolt through the room. Time nearly slowed as Mia registered the scene. Liam had tackled the figure, but the weapon had been discharged into the air, scattering dust and fragments around them. The ensuing shockwave of adrenaline fueled Mia's resolve. As if on instinct, she surged forward, engaging the guards that had collected around the fallen thug, each motion becoming fluid and instinctive. Jabs, dodges, calculated strikes. As their attacks came at her, Mia felt the blend of adrenaline and purpose synchronize within her. Each blow she landed was an affirmation of her growth, her transformation from the girl who once froze under fear to a force that demanded respect. But the skirmish took its toll, and as the last guard fell back, breathing hard, the weight of the situation settled heavily upon Mia. Fear and determination had ushered her into this confrontation, but now the reality of what lay ahead loomed ominously. "Now what?" Liam rasped, pushing himself back to his feet. Mia glanced at Emma, who was no longer frozen in fear, but wide-eyed with determination, watching her sister transform before her very eyes. "Now we finish what we started," Mia replied, conviction hardening her voice. The looming figure had regained composure. "You think you can walk out of here," he snarled, eyes flickering with menace. But Mia felt a fierceness grow within, a dawning awareness of her strength. They had ignited a fire, one that couldn't simply be extinguished. "We will walk out, and you will let us," she retorted, her voice filled now with unassailable authority as she faced him. It was a proclamation more than a statement. With each word, she felt the chains of her past fracture, the continued awakening of self-empowerment. But the world didn't bend to willpower alone. It required the willingness to confront fear. As they squared off, the stakes grew dangerously high. The next moments were fraught with tension, and the reality loomed that Mia's greatest test was still ahead. How far would she go to protect Emma? The quiet before the storm hung thick in the air, and Mia braced herself for the test not only of her physical abilities, but of her very spirit. The choice she made now would define not only this fight, but the journey ahead. Would she finally embrace the warrior within her, or would fear douse the embers of her newfound strength? A deep breath steadied her. This was just the beginning. Mia stood facing the looming figure, a flickering fire igniting within her.
She had fought to protect Emma, but now the stakes had transformed. She was not just defending against an external threat, but rising against the shadow of self-doubt that had haunted her for years. Power demands a price. The truth of this statement coursed through her like the adrenaline that surged in her veins. With each heartbeat, she could feel the resolve solidify. "You don't get to take her from me," Mia said, her voice unwavering despite the storm swirling in front of her. Liam stood ready by her side, confidence instilled in their shared purpose. The barriers of timidity, expectations, and fear melted away as she tapped into the realization that she possessed strength she had only begun to recognize. "Enough of this nonsense," the figure snarled, clearly irritated by the fervor in her eyes. His bravado had shifted, revealing a crack beneath the surface that Mia seized upon. It was a moment of vulnerability. He was not as untouchable as he believed. With a fierceness propelled by the thought of Emma, Mia sprung into action. She launched forward, eyes locked onto the figure with precision and calculated daring. The warehouse around them vibrated with tension, her every motion orchestrated, echoing a newly found competence. She maneuvered instinctively, a whirl of motion asserting her presence. Each strike was a testament to the battles she had fought and the lessons she had learned, not just how to fight, but how to claim her own power.
The reality of the past faded into insignificance with every punch she threw. Liam, emboldened by her courage, joined in seamlessly, pushing against the figure's defenses. Together, they flowed like a well-rehearsed rhythm, weaving through the chaos and seamlessly harnessing their strength. As the world around them blurred, Mia felt triumph surge with each adversary they vanquished, a proud acknowledgement that she was becoming the architect of her fate. But the imposing figure continued to stand unfazed. "You think you can win this?" he snarled, trying to intimidate her. The truth within him was that he was watching a reflection of his own fear of being overthrown, forced to confront the power he commanded and what was now being wrested from him. Mia could sense the shift in dynamics. The others were wavering, losing confidence. The psychological hold over them was breaking. In that revealing moment, she found her voice again. "You're playing in a world that underestimates true strength," she declared, letting her words hang, a challenge erupting from deep within her core. Her words struck like a lightning bolt, illuminating the murky depths of the warehouse with renewed intensity. She was no longer just a girl fighting to save someone else. She had become a symbol of resistance, a testament to the power of agency and self-assertion. As they pressed forward, moment by moment, the dark figure finally faltered, his facade crumbling under the weight of truth and defiance. "You're just a girl," he spat, a desperate attempt to regain control. Mia stepped forward, grounding herself. "And you're the man who's losing control," she retorted, her voice ringing with confidence. In the echoes of that declaration, the weight of her past faded into shadows. Here was a future embracing her. Soon the tide turned. The final wave of hesitation swept over the remaining guards, and as if sensing the shift, they hesitated. One by one, they either surrendered or fled, unwilling to contest the storm that Mia had become. They could see the power radiating from her, a blanket of courage large enough to envelop them all. With the figure left alone, Mia approached, standing tall as she faced the remnants of his authority. "You think your darkness defines you, but it's nothing compared to the light that comes from choice," she said firmly. It felt like a victory of release, equipping her with a clarity she had long sought. As he stepped back, a mixture of disbelief and fury etched across his face. Mia could finally breathe. They had done it. She had not only saved Emma, but taken charge of her own life. "Let's go," she said with finality, turning toward the door while a fresh surge of possibility flooded her. Relief washed over her as she rushed towards Emma, who now wore a radiant look of admiration, having witnessed Mia's transformation. "Thank you," Emma breathed, her eyes shimmering with newfound respect.
In that embrace, Mia felt everything shift. She was no longer just a protector, but a sister, a warrior, and an empowered individual who had seized her narrative. Mia realized that this fight was not just about Emma's rescue, it was about her emergence into a life free from chains. The victories inherently belonged to her now, having conquered the battle for self-respect and identity, and having simultaneously woven an unbreakable bond with Emma. As they stepped into the night, The weight of barriers that had once strangled her dreams lifted. A new journey lay ahead, ripe with possibility, and she was ready for adventure. Her newfound power wouldn't just be a relic, it was a commitment. And within that commitment, Mia couldn't help but smile at the limitless horizons she was yet to explore, a victor in her own right, forever transformed. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show your support. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of these actions.